And this is where we'll get to unravel the strategies and insights that will get to define India's prominent position in the world of gaming. So while we do get started with our very first panel discussion, I'd also like to urge all of you to participate with your thoughts using the hashtag IGC. All that you get to experience here, all the insights that you gather from our speakers, don't forget to also share your thoughts on social media using the hashtag IGC. And meanwhile, while our team sets the stage, let me tell you that our session partner for this panel discussion is OnePlus India. And this is where we'll also be inviting our speakers and get them to sort of share their thoughts as we talk about future of gaming. This particular session will be spearheaded and moderated by Shubh Mittal, Director EY, and Shubh will be responsible in extracting all the relevant insights from his fellow panelists. So with that, I'm going to take a quick thumbs up from my team. Are we all set? Looks like we are. With that, ladies and gentlemen, first up, if I could please invite our session moderator, Shubh Mittal, Director EY, to please come on stage. And joining Shubh, may I also very quickly invite all our panelists. We have with us Aditya Swamy, Country Director, Google Play. We have Ishita Grover, Director, Marketing, OnePlus India. Kapil Rathee, Co-founder and President, Junglee Games. May I also please invite Nihansh Bhat, Corporate Development Lead, KRAFTON India, and Suhas Khullar, CFO, Loco Gaming. All right, let's have a louder round of applause, everyone. Let's welcome all our speakers right here on the dais. And with that, let me quickly hand over the proceedings to Shubh Mittal. Over to you then.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you, IAMI, for giving us this wonderful stage and conducting this Indian Gaming Convention. I welcome all my panelists here. Thank you for joining us. We have been through two good sessions in the morning talking about the entire growth in gaming industry. So this session is more about talking about future of gaming, how we are fueling innovation and making India a big gaming hub. We're going to talk about a lot of innovations with respect to technological aspects, with respect to the startup ecosystem, how India as a geography is different from a consumer standpoint, and what are some of the intricacies, and also from a publisher ecosystem standpoint, how do we see this as a bigger opportunity? As you all know, industry is growing at 28%. We're moving from 13,000 plus crore to 33,000, 16,000 plus crore to 33,000 plus crore in next 5 years, which is kind of making it a big opportunity. As we see, there are a lot of 1,400 startups coming up in online gaming, 22,000 plus crore of FDI investment. So Aditya, how do you see this entire startup ecosystem fueling in around what kind of talent, skill development, and the entire ecosystem basically would need from an innovation standpoint, sustaining this growth and basically achieving this growth?
A big media industry conference, there's been a big one on EdTech, and now there's this. And every industry is getting disrupted, but I think the sense of optimism that you see when you meet people in gaming, it's so refreshing. And I think everybody needs to come to get a dose of it. I think given that it's been a pretty rocky year, but I think the messages that were landed by the speakers in the morning are really positive, and I think it's great to be here and soak in the energy of this group. I think just building on some of the conversations of the morning, when we at Google Play would talk about gaming, we always said, hey, India would have lots of MAUs and DAOs. So building a gaming business in India is amazing because there are a lot of users. That narrative has changed or has been built on in 2023, which now says India has a lot of players, but India now also has a lot of paying players. And there is a business now that you can build out of gaming. I think Harsh talked about 50 crore gamers. The interesting stat that we have is that out of that 50 crore, 14 crore people actually paid to play a game, which basically means there is no industry in this country that has 140 million paying users. Our challenges are ARPU, and we continue to see how to grow it. But the fact that 140 million people are ready to put money in a game, that is way more than any OTT, that is way more than any cab riding, that's way more than any food ordering. That's a massive business. So I think we have moved from entertainment to becoming an entertainment business, which I think exciting for everybody in this room. Two, I think there's two opportunities. There is a user opportunity and a developer opportunity. And I say user opportunity as in there are global studios, and we have KRAFTON here to think about what is the India opportunity. But to the question that you asked, I think there is a huge opportunity for Indian players to go out to the world. And I think the fact that we're able to build fast, we're able to build at great economics, and the fact that we are thinking about the world as not just North America and Europe, but thinking about how we can go to LATAM, how we can go to other parts of Asia, Africa, I think it just shows that the ambition is very big. We run a bunch of accelerators. We talked about METI. Our lead accelerator is with METI. It's called the App Scale Academy. We're looking to find 100 young and exciting games and apps every year that can truly become global. And it's great to see so many interesting gaming companies coming out of that. Bombay Play, Super Gaming, Studio Sira are all companies that have come through that. And I would love for this group to be able to recommend more interesting companies that we should be looking at so that we can truly play a key role in helping these companies leverage the best of our stack to be not just the best in India, but truly become global gaming companies.
You've kind of put forward and this is giving an opportunity to a lot of startups to kind of come forward and really fuel in the innovation around, right? We also see a lot of smartphone penetration in India and a lot of online gaming in India, and India being one of the different nations from an online gaming standpoint, right? You see for 400 crore plus gaming users here. So Ishita, how do you see a lot of technological, how do you see devices have, come out of a lot of technological challenges? What are the intricacies around software, hardware, and how they have basically make sure that there's a seamless experience for those consumers?
So we were just discussing this internally as well, and it turns out that today 96% of the gamers in India are using mobile gaming. So that clearly just gives us the opportunity to engage with all of them and also build devices, like you rightly said, to support this industry. At OnePlus, we do believe that it has to be the right mix of hardware as well as software when we are working on our devices. And at the same time, as a brand, we've always focused on building devices or solutions to work for our community members. And going by the trend, we have a very avid base of gamers within our community. So keeping that in mind, close to 3 years back, we launched the R series, which was a performance-driven flagship number series for us, which actually has been built to provide a very superior gaming experience to our users. And this comes in right from display to building our own gaming engine, which is called the Hyper Boost, which actually helps in, say, cooling devices. We do have a gaming mode, which is actually fairly common for most of the OEMs today, but for us it is about how do we facilitate the best gaming experience. So we have a 3D cooling engine that is built into our devices. Secondly, going by what really works is what sort of platform are we giving to our users. So while there are tournaments by other publishers, we have our own gaming tournament, which we do once in a year, but we further built it into Dominate Nights as well, wherein we bring the industry together, bring in the influencers together to share their journey with upcoming gamers on how to build their profile, how to upskill them as well. So for any smartphone player, we believe that it has to be the right mix between hardware, software, as well as the interest of their users to build the right product.
I think this makes a lot more the kind of experience which you guys are building up is quite helpful from a gaming consumer standpoint. Moving next, we all talk about India being a young country. 65% of the population is under 35 years. And with that, Kapil, how do you see some of the homegrown companies are kind of crafting a differential consumer experience? And how do you see this as an opportunity to kind of take homegrown companies to global scale and basically calling India as a gaming hub?
Yeah, thanks for that. First of all, I think Aditya mentioned that from an industry standpoint, what is fantastic to see is even Google or Apple, they recognize the DAOs and MAOs. That's why you see a separate store completely aligned to gaming. While it's very interesting to see these DAOs and MAOs, one of the critical challenge that gaming has been facing over the last 1 decade is how do you make financial viable game, which is it's easy to build a game, but it might be pretty difficult to actually make a business out of it. Now, for any company to support the ecosystem further on, it's really important to carve out those financial viabilities. And now in last 1 decade, we have seen some really good success stories from IPOs to companies really going big. And from there on, they have the opportunity to create a bigger ecosystem. Some of those initiatives, including what we are doing here today, is just an example of that. There are different federations which have been created by these big companies in order to support the ecosystem, including FIPS, EGF, AIGF. These are the federations which are trying to think about the frameworks which will work really well for the industry, as well as from player protection standpoint of view. What are some common denominators which we all can agree on and move forward and work with government to make that happen at a scale for us. There are a lot of mentorship programs that some of the big companies have launched. There are dedicated VC funds which are just focused around gaming now. It's heartening to see that. That's coming to India. So all these are, in a way, steps where we do see some of these homegrown companies are going above and beyond to make this as a bigger and better ecosystem. Having said that, I think some of the homegrown companies have also started look little deeply to our heritage and culture and gone back to see what sort of games we used to play. We have a history and heritage. Even in Mahabharata, there were people who were rolling dice. We had baby boomers who were playing Ludo, and now today it's back again in forefront, and we see so many versions of that. So I think a lot of homegrown companies are just tapping into that. What is that is core to our culture? What is that is core to our heritage? How can we revive some of those experiences without not necessarily considering this digital age? It's really hard to get around 5-6 people together to play that game. But these companies can really facilitate that experience through games. And I think that's the opportunity we all can tap on. And there's so many, I mean, I'm assuming in some form or the other, pretty much everyone in this room and beyond would have played games, including sports. And even all the sports games are actually now moving on to actual games. It was very hard to imagine playing FIFA on a mobile phone. Now, considering Ishita spoke about how different mobile platforms and different smartphones now have enabled those technologies. They have the performance. We have access to a lot of data. Now it's pretty much visible. So I think as we go along, we need to really go inwards, understand what are the things that really works for Indian consumer, and more importantly, think about how can we make these games financial viable. While there would be 25 Ludo games out there, probably more. Actually, there are more than 100. But how many of them are financial viable? I do believe a smart college graduate can really create a game, but it takes a very different sort of game to actually create a business out of it. And I think that's where some of the big startups or big companies can really invest to mentor these new innovative people coming out, and how can we give guidance to them to make it more financial viable, which eventually means like we'll create a bigger and better ecosystems where more and more inclusiveness will be there for all sort of gamers. And gaming is vast. There's so many genres of games. There are so many type of platforms where you can play these games. But we are just tapping, like Ishita said, we are just pretty much focused more on mobile, and India needs to go beyond that.
As you rightly said, Kapil, there has been a lot of focus on regionalization as well. I mean, India comes with different cultures, with different set of consumption. We have seen this entire balance in OTT world as well. Lot of regional content is being focused on. We have our own set of cultural, mythological beliefs and all of those things, which makes a really different ball game for us and gives us a lot more opportunity to basically come up with different games which could suit to our audience, which is bringing up a good opportunity around. With that, Nihansh, how do you see the role of an gaming publisher in India? How can they be seen as one of the big opportunity areas in terms of kind of being an Indian publisher, and basically India could also be a lot more an outsourcing hub from a publishing standpoint? Or how do you see there's an opportunity for a lot of publishers around in India from this perspective?
You're talking about Indian content perspective?
Yes.
Okay, so I think obviously the opportunity is really great, because real engaging content, and that is the holy grail for all types of entertainment, not just gaming, but even movies, right? So the kind of engagement and the kind of authenticity you can create by leveraging some of the local cultural elements is great. The thing about making it work in gaming, though, is that in gaming a lot of things need to come together, right? The story aspect and the cultural aspects is one element, but it needs to come together from a technology perspective as well, and needs to come together from a community perspective as well. And that is what all of these elements go into creating a game. There's an artistic element as well, which is, the quality of the art needs to be really good to engage users. Then the development should be of such a quality that it is free of bugs. From a network perspective, it is seamless, because mobile may not always have the same level of connectivity to the internet, but you need to have a game which works seamlessly, especially a multiplayer game. And Indians, from our experience, are very social gamers. Games which have a strong social element do very well with Indian gamers, and so all the more reason for you to have a very strong tech backbone, which creates a seamless multiplayer experience. So cultural and local stories are one element which absolutely are critical to take Indian gaming to the next level. But a lot of other things need to also come together in a game. And I think from our perspective, KRAFTON, we always try to ensure that we marry both the aspects of best-in-class development, best-in-class art, best-in-class game design, and marry it with local cultural sensibilities and cultural aspects as well. A good example of this is the launch of our Indian faction for a recent game, Road to Valor. We actually had the Korean teams and the Indian teams sit together and spend an extended amount of time before we even started the development process, before we even put the pen to paper and try and explain what are the Indian cultural elements to the Korean team, and then we work together to create that faction. So I think the critical thing here from a global perspective is that definitely you need the local elements to come in, but you also need to bring in the expertise. Yeah, I think that is something that is critical, and that is something that we have been working on. In our previous games we have been working on. We're going to launch a lot of new games into the Indian market as well, and that is also something we'll keep in mind, that the best content is created when the Indian and the global comes together to create a great product.
Sure. I think this also gives you to 15,000 gamers today in India to kind of learn something different and basically experiment on. With this, there are a lot of experience-led technological development as well. There is a lot of AR, XR coming up around. So, how do you think all of this technological development would basically from a streaming player standpoint, how do you see that?
So, if you see, gaming and streaming is, becoming more and more a social activity, as Nihansh also mentioned. And these are all social spaces, right? And in social spaces, what matters most is engagement. And, I'll just look at it in three ways. So in engagement, you want to have interactivity. You want to have fandom, because it's a game and a sports. And then, of course, you need to have tools for monetization of users, as Adi and Kapil also touched upon. And on all three, so, in real world, for example, if you want to have interactivity, the bar is really high, right? In cricket, you can't really interact with a sports person. In fact, as a fan, if you want to get noticed, you will have to paint your body probably and write Tendulkar at your back, right? But in an online space, it needs to be really, the bar needs to be really low, because it allows for that. So for example, on interactivity, how do you build the chat platform, right? There's so many people commenting. How can you distinguish certain high quality fans or who in the chat and allow them and get the streamer to respond to them while playing the game? So how do you create those tools which are so easy to use for the streamer? That's the interactivity bit. Then coming to fandom, we talked about real world, but here what you can even do is you can play with your the favorite streamer. Like in real world, you can't play with Sachin, but that's the opportunity that is there in fandom. Then we also do leaderboards, and a lot of other platforms also do that. Who are the biggest fans, and not only of the game but also of streamers. So how do you divide that cohort? On the consumer side as well, on the user side as well, of course you give them visibility of the streamers they like, but also can you help discover new streamers who are just launching into the ecosystem? So that covers the interactivity and fandom part. And the third part is, of course, then it has to lead to some monetization for the streamer. And for that, there are various tools, of course. One is, platform can do advertising, but also the streamer can do some brand partnerships. And can you allow visibility on his stream? Can you give him the tools to, display that on his stream in a non-intrusive way to the main gameplay? Then we have launched a VIP program. We thought, everyone thinks that India is a low ARPU country. And when we launched that, we were also not sure how big it will grow. But in a very short period of time, we saw, amazing amount of buy-in from the viewers. And how we have designed it is a mix of interactivity features, leaderboard, and then a subscription product on top of it. So all of it combined, that's what we're giving to users. And the ARPU is, is much higher than we would thought. It's similar to the global ARPU that we see. And I hope we are able to scale it. But these are some of the tools which have come into play in the ecosystem.
Sure. I think we touched upon quite a lot of notes around how monetization is happening, how there has been innovation happening in platforms around, how there's a different mindset, consumer has a mindset, and how basically a lot of Indianized versions of games coming up around with a lot of support with local and the global teams working together and exchanging expertise, as well as in terms of the kind of experience which platforms are providing in terms of interactivity and all. I would just request panels, what would your suggestions to some of the newer gaming companies or the startups, basically, in terms of what are some of the other areas of innovation around?
We talked about monetization, so I can share an example. This is not for RMG, but more for casual and mid-core games. We analyzed over 150 games, right? And a lot of these were games that were built outside India, but for the Indian market. And I think the general thing when you talk to a global studio is, oh, emerging markets need sub-dollar pricing. And sub-dollar pricing does not mean sub-dollar, it means 99 cents. So everybody launches their game with the entry SKU at 99 cents. At 75 rupees, nobody's converting in India. We ran this analysis across 150 games. We've come to the hypothesis, and this is for everybody out there, that 20 to 30 rupees is the sweet spot. If you can have an SKU and that price range, your opening buyer will come in, but that buyer will scale. We've seen that the ARPU of that buyer goes from 20 to 150 within 12 months. But if you don't have that 20 rupees SKU, that buyer is never coming in. So I think how do you optimize for the right price and then the right form of payment? If you don't have UPI, I think it comes very naturally to all of us. But if you don't have UPI in your game, somebody's going to come to the point of buying and then bounce. So I think just figuring these nuances out, and I think honestly doing a lot of experiments and seeing what is that sweet spot is, I think, a good opportunity. I also think Ishita talked about smartphone penetration, UPI, but I think the third big thing that's going to impact us is 5G. Today we're close to about 150 million people by the end of the year in 5G. It's going to be 500 million. I think these three together, a lot of smartphones, very low payment friction, and great connectivity at low cost, is this multiplier effect that's really going to enable us to take off. So I think figuring out localization, but one step, I think, below what Nihansh talked about. You don't have to get the game exactly right, but if you get all the surround around it, you can get some good runway, and then leveraging this momentum that we're seeing across the three vectors.
In terms of advice for younger studios, I think I would also like to stress a little bit on the product aspect. I think that's probably the most one of the most critical things, right? From that aspect, you need to get your game right, and you need to upskill yourself as well to get to a level where the game becomes of global quality, because there are no borders on the internet, right? So Indian users have access to the best quality content globally. So your content, your product needs to be right up there in order to attract a large number of users. And for that, I think Indian studios need to focus a lot on learnings that you don't necessarily need to start with the hardest level of games. So our advice to younger studios is always to start small, but start with something that where you can complete the entire life cycle seamlessly. That doesn't mean that you need to stop there. Once you develop a smaller game and you understand the entire life cycle of a video game, right from the development aspect, the game design aspect, to the monetization aspect that Aditya talked about, then you set yourself up for a better game in the future. You also give more confidence to your backers, whether that be from an investment perspective or other perspectives as well. I think that's what Indian studios, especially the younger ones, need to focus on, and that how to complete the learning journey. Of course, mentorship can also be a very critical part of that journey that can help you basically provide a shortcut to you when you hear from people who've been there and done that. And as a part of that, I think we've also started a incubation program. I think those of you who are starting their or thinking of starting their own studios do take a look at our website. It's called Kiki, and basically we focus on mentorship rather than funding, essentially, because I think we are in an environment where gaming is such an exciting sector that funding is easier to come by, but expertise is not. So we focus on getting the right kind of mentorship to younger Indian startups from experts in different areas of game development, whether that be engineering or art, game design, product, even marketing, how to scale up your user acquisition. So all of these factors are very critical, and learning is the most important aspect. So that's our perspective.
Yeah, you already covered it, but I would say like one of the biggest thing to start with is the product market fit. That means you need to go after easier games, and the easiest way to validate is use some of the open source technologies where you can just plug and play and see if there is a product market fit that exists before you start investing into building more scalable technologies and so on and so forth. I think that's the step 2, where you need as a gaming studio, you need to give a consistent experience and high performance experience and a very immersive experience at scale. If the game does not work at scale, probably it's not going to fly in India. And it's very hard to make things work at scale. And the third thing is, how can you harness the power of data where all the other challenges around monetization or understanding the user behavior or creating a better experience for them, understanding the product funnels really well, and make tweaks to the games from there on. I think if you pass those hurdles, probably monetization will happen as long as your users are repeating and you're able to attract new users and there's already a good product market fit you have established. I think that's the way to go about it. So probably start small, validate, move on to the next phase, so on and so forth.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I think
I can add while listening to them going. What I think is how many gaming companies have a true data science team? Because I think the Harsh is sitting and smiling. He lives his data. But I think that's an opportunity as well because everyone talks about game development, getting the content just right. I think we spend a lot of time on that. But I think you need either you have to have your own in-house analyst team or you can outsource it. But understanding who's playing, what are the engagement rates in the game, why are the dropouts happening, I think that's a mine that waiting to be, for us to really get deep into. And the other side is like, are we doing enough publisher-studio partnerships? If India wants to go to the world, is there a model there? The world wants to come to India, is there a model there? And I think it's a time of partnership. Rather than going at it all on your own, there could be interesting partnerships there. And coming off many of the gaming conferences that have happened recently, I think there's a lot of interest to enter India, but people don't know how to. And I think the folks, those 1,400 people in the gaming industry are the right people who can allow you to run a successful business in India.
This year has been significant, being 15 years, as Harsh told about. We have government coming up with regulations. I also see a lot of ecosystem has been stitched down in terms of innovation, in terms of aspects like technology, aspects like data, monetization, aspects like development and all. And I think that's a great step towards newer innovations and sustenance of a lot of startups. I think this gives us a lot more opportunity for the gaming industry to kind of grow at the pace what they are growing. I think that's it. I would thank all the panel members here.